What's going on, healthy gamers? I'm here with my friend Andrew, and Andrew is an international admissions counselor at Colorado State University, and we're going to be talking about social situations, and he is the perfect person to talk about that. Out of all of my friends, Andrew is the person. Like, look at his big goofy grin right now. He's lovable. I mean, there's not a person that's met him that doesn't like him. It's insane. When we were in college, we roomed together, and like I didn't have to make any friends because Andrew would just go and make friends for us, and that's it was pretty awesome.
You're too nice, Jack. You're too nice.
But he has just been all of his life. He's been extremely social, and he has. I think we're gonna be able to learn a lot just picking the Andrew's brains.
Well, hey, I'm here to help you guys. Whatever you need, I'm here to help out. So.
Well, good. Well, let's just go in and talk about it. I think one of your biggest strengths is that I've noticed just being around you is every time you meet somebody, you're able to give them a compliment that feels genuine. And I've never felt like you were trying to suck up to anybody or, it's always felt genuine. It hasn't been the same thing that you say to everybody. It's always something unique about them. So how do you do that?
Well, I mean, I think it kind of goes back to you never want to judge a book by its cover, and you never want to, just assume something, maybe assume someone's bad. So when I meet someone, whether it's on the street or grocery store or in class, whatever it may be, you want to know about that person because everyone has something about them that'll makes them tick, makes them, I don't know, either happy or gets them up in the morning. And so when you're talking to someone, you just meet them, you kind of want to know what that is about them. And so I'm not even trying to compliment a person. I'm just trying to figure out kind of what that is about them. And so that kind of comes off as, I compliment like, oh, you speak Arabic? That's sweet.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And you kind of find out like things about them and kind of what they're passionate about. And then that comes off as, kind of gives someone a warming feeling because people love talking about themselves, and that's fine. And
it's absolutely true.
That's fine. So if you can get them talking, find kind of that thing you like, you're good to go.
That's absolutely. Do you have any? Like, I'm sure it's just second nature to you now, but can you think through the steps? Like when you meet someone, how do you go about talking to them to bring out their passions? How do you do that?
Well, I think a big part of it is you want to be approachable and kind of relatable, and I think a lot of that starts with kind of a smiling. You don't want to come across. I'm a big guy. I'm
you're
6'4",
guy.
225. I'm a large gentleman, and so what you want to want to kind of break that. As Jack said, I guess I got a goofy smile. So part of it, I guess, is people are never like, oh, this guy's gonna, and it's not intimidating. So when you come up, you want to smile, so puts people at ease, and then you just kind of go and just kind of talk to them. So yeah, I'm trying to think. Go up, smile, hey, and eye contact is good because you don't want to be afraid, and you don't, and confidence. In your entire life, I think confidence is one of the best things ever to have, and just knowing that maybe this person doesn't want to talk to you, and that's okay. Like you have to be okay with that, and so go up, smile, some confidence, like, hey, how you doing? And then if they're like, all right, I could talk to this guy, and then they'll either talk to you or you won't, and then you go on the rest of your day. But I think smiling is a huge part of it, eye contact, and just how you carry yourself. If you're like, hi. But if you come out, I have nothing to hide. This is me. Nice to meet you.
That's true, and I think you have a good point because on the internet you read a lot about like you want to be the alpha male and you want to be alpha and all these. It is so ridiculous. All these people, they're in the grocery store. They have their arms crossed and they're trying to look they're trying to look mean and trying to look tough, but that is not helping you. No, everyone can see straight through that. They think you're an idiot, and that's what happens when you try to be an alpha male.
No, it is true. It's and you said it exactly. The people that are trying to be the big stuff, it's not. And usually those are the type of people that you don't really want to interact with because they don't interact with anyone else. They're like, I'm so cool. Yeah, all right, I'm gonna go hang out with this person.
So, no, totally. And you got to think about what is what is your goal? Is your goal to try to make people think you're tough, or do you want to meet people and have fun and be social? Because that's one or the other. You're going to meet people or you're going to try to look tough. It's not going to be both ways.
Right. No, it's so true. You can't do both. So
Yeah, and I think that's one of your biggest like success factors is because you're massive, but you're also very approachable.
well, yeah, it's true, but it's and maybe some of that started when I was a kid. I'm not sure though, but it's you can't be. You never want to be that guy at the bar that no one wants to come talk to. So
That's
or at a grocery, wherever it may be.
right. And I mean, let's talk about that because you meet people everywhere. We've had times where we're trying to eat dinner. We're like, where's Andrew? Oh, he's talking to that person, that random person. Like, all right. So how do you do that? Like, literally everywhere you go, you're meeting somebody. You're making a new friend.
Well, it's something my mom said when I was little. She just has same thing. Where'd I go? She'd think I was lost a lot because I'd just go up and I'd be talking with someone. And it's just so I think part of it's kind of just that's part of my nature. But explaining it, I love talking to people. I love hearing people's stories, and I love kind of getting that. And so kind of going back, when you're interested in something about someone, it's so easy to meet someone. Because when say I'm in the bathroom or what, I don't know, at a restaurant,
That's
like you
kind of
said,
weird. Yeah.
and some guys sit there, I'm like, oh, dude, and, cool shoes or something. I'm like, I got some of those too. He's like, oh, sweet, yeah, where'd you get? Like, you just
I
do
also
some,
wear shoes.
What?
I also wear shoes.
Right. But it has to be genuine. It's not you can't just pull shit out of the air or pull stuff out of the air. It's just it's got to be something where it's a genuine type of thing, and when you have experiences and kind of make sure that you're watching and not being that guy, but doing watching and taking in information, then you can pull stuff out and be like, oh, you support Manchester United. It's cool. Yeah, I'm a part of the Red Army too. Maybe not, but you can chat with someone about anything as long as you keep your ears open and take in stuff.
So it's what I'm hearing is you are genuinely interested in meeting and talking to these people. Like you're genuinely that interests you. You want to find out about people, and it's not a convoluted thing where you're like, all right, I got to figure out their passion so then they'll like me and then they'll be cool. It's just
yeah. I just want to learn more about maybe what it is that they do, or what maybe there's something different about them. You notice something different or things like that. And here's one: you definitely be careful when it's about like ethnic backgrounds or cultural background. Like, oh, you look Korean, and that might offend some people or something like that. And so definitely with that one, it's a little iffy. But with those type of things, I just want to know more about that person, because that'll make, I guess, me better next time I meet someone else. If I do meet this guy who is a big Man U fan, Manchester United fan, then I'm like, I talk to him about it. Then if I do see another one, I can chat with him about it, and so on and so forth. And so it's just kind of learning more. You learn more about people, and that passes on and on and on. So
totally. And I mean, I remember like, because when we were in college, we would go out, and you would always meet everyone, but I had the mindset of like, I want to meet a hot girl, and it just that since the different, because your goal was to just make friends and meet people. My goal is I got to find a hot girl, and at the end of the night, you've probably met like 30 hot girls while I've just been sitting there thinking about meeting a hot girl. And I think that's the difference, is when you don't set that pressure on yourself to go have this very specific goal. If you're just out to have fun and be social, like that in the end actually will make you reach your goals.
Yeah, it's so true. It kind of goes back to when you're just talking with someone, and you can't be afraid to fail. That can't be something like, oh, what if this? You have to be happy that maybe if you are trying to meet attractive women or things like that, you have to be okay with, guess what? I might just have to go home and plug in, watch some Netflix or something for the night, and that's your night. you have to be okay with that.
Didn't know where you were going with that.
What?
Didn't know where you were going with that.
No, not like. I mean, you have to be okay with that too. But but no, you can't be afraid to, I guess, strike out. And you hear people say that once you're at peace with yourself, then everything else. But I mean, it's true. You can't worry about that. You just have to worry about going out and having the best time you can. So.
Dude, that really is true, and just from my own experience, because I used to hold the thought that I could not attract any white girls or any girls of any race except for Asian girls. Do you remember that? Because I used to just only date Asian girls, and I held that thought, and I thought if I talk to like a white girl, then I'm going to fail, and then I never did. And it took forever to break out of that, but now it's fine, and it was all I still fail, often, but I also succeed.
Right. It's not about, because I mean, you're not gonna strike up the best conversation with everyone. You're not gonna draw the attention of the cutest girl every night. It's just, but if that's one of your goals, eventually you will draw the attention of a really cute girl, or just have a bomb conversation with someone, and just but then it goes from there, because once you get that first one, once you get that first excellent conversation, or hang out with that first real cute girl, then you learn from that, and it keeps going and going and going. So it's just kind of, once that first one happens, and it's all downhill from there.
No, and I think people, or I used to have this idea that you were either born confident and social, or you weren't. But it's totally a learned skill. It is a learned skill. Like, you get better at playing video games, you get better at typing, at writing, at school. It is a learned skill. It is not, if you don't have that skill now, you can learn it.
No, it really is. I mean, we've talked about it, Jack. I can remember when I got confidence. Like, it was a defining moment in my life when I got confidence, and then when I didn't have it.
Do you want to talk about that? Or just talk about like how you were when you were younger, middle school and high school, and when you had confidence?
And so, well, there was two kind of changing points, and I'll talk about both of them, I guess. So the first one was in high school. So I always kind of use the story, like freshman year of high school. There was lots of different dances that went on. Obviously, we liked going, but I wanted to go, and then so I asked some people to the dances, but no one went with me, and things like that. And so freshman year, I went stag to most dances, and something happened that summer or something, but sophomore year just changed. And I remember walking down the hall and being like, oh my gosh, like, this feels great. Like, I don't know what it was, and I think it was just kind of, I met some older people and realized that this guy that I am, this goofy guy with a goofy smile, not the strongest or anything like that, but people like these upperclassmen, older people. I had a class with some upperclassmen and some older hot girls. I realized that they liked me for just being me. I was like, okay. I was like, so I'm all right. I don't have to be this other person, these, super cool guys. And then from that moment on, I was like, oh, well, I just like being me. And so, had dates all the rest of, high school, went to prom with a senior my sophomore year and all this. And I wasn't attractive or anything like that. I really was. I was in the friend zone with most of them. All right. But, I had friends, and I could tell them that confidence changed. And then
let me interrupt you real quick.
Yeah,
and so you didn't there was nothing in your life that changed between your freshman and sophomore year except how you perceived yourself. You didn't get bigger. You didn't look better. Nothing. It was how you perceived yourself.
It was I didn't grow 6 inches and just get some swole. No, it was just, I was like, oh, I'm okay how I am. I don't need to be these other people that, I've wanted to be, or I see it. It's cool. People like me for just being me, So yeah, it was total interior thing, and from there it just kind of changed. But yeah, and then the second one, so then this is where Healthy Gamer comes in for everyone else. Sophomore, junior year of college. So before that, my friends had all joked that I was in the friend zone with all of these girls. I was just in the friend zone, which is fine. I mean, I like making friends, things like that. But I mean, you like, you want to meet some girls, you're young,
Yeah,
things like
you
that.
wanna, yeah.
Yeah, and so that summer I got a job at a pool where I went to undergrad at the University of Missouri, and there was a bunch of like really attractive women that worked there, and they're like swimmers, so they're really fit too. And so my friend and I, we both got jobs there, and we just decided to just get in shape. And I cut my hair. I wore my hair out kind of
You
bigger
you
than
had
I
an
didn't
awesome
have
fro
a fresh
going.
coat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have a fresh cut, and so I cut my hair and just worked out. And I mean, things changed. I mean, my confidence improved as well because I felt better about myself. And I mean, you just feel better when you're working out and eating right. And so, but it just changed. Like all of a sudden, it went from friend zone Andrew to, uh-oh, like, maybe I should tone it down a bit. But and so it was just great change of when women started talking to me. It wasn't just like, oh hey, it was like, oh. Well, hey, I was like, wait, what is that? And but well, by that time, it took me a while to realize what was going on. But yeah, so the two definite kind of points in my life where kind of that confidence
Yeah.
kind of shifted.
Let me highlight that a little bit too, because because I don't know, I'm on the internet a lot, and there's like all these different things now written about men and dating, and one of the things they always say is it doesn't matter how you look, it's your personality, which to a point is true. But I think those kind of articles are being written by fat old guys because there is a definite change in how women perceive you when you, especially if you just drop body fat. That's the biggest thing, dropping body fat, having a lean face, because it's, of course, like a real good-looking, ripped guy with no personality is still not going to have success, but it makes it easier. It's like putting your foot in the door. If they already perceive you as being attractive, then it makes your job about 100 times easier. All you have to do then is not screw up. You don't have to go in and impress them. You just have to not screw it up.
No, but it's so true, and I'm the first one. I'm all about hope and oh, you should know someone, things like that. But at the same time, it's the hard truth. You gotta look good if you want to meet people, if you want to date. You need a personality, but you need to look good. You need to be presentable at least. Dropping body fat. Taking proper hygiene. Getting a haircut every once in a while. That type of thing. It's
You know,
it's things you need to take care of yourself. And no matter what people say, you got to have that to be able to break the ice. Because if I was unshaven and I kind of smell and things like that, you can't approach people. They're gonna be like, I don't want to talk to you. So.
right. I think that's a good point because I think yeah, that's, you need to be presentable more than you need to be like in really good shape. So wearing clothes that fit you well,
It's huge.
having good attire, being well groomed and being clean, that's very important. And it's amazing how much you can change the way people perceive you just by a few simple changes in the way you dress, and the way like you groom yourself.
Right.
And then the other point I wanted to hit was that whenever you're being real distracting. But
Sorry, guys.
no, you're good. Whenever you start actually working out, you have that outer physical change, but I think the bigger part of it is you have that inner change where you see, because you see that your hard work is having results, and that gives you a confidence, like that gives you an unstoppable confidence after a while, and it builds up. And when you work out, because I would, whenever we would go out and go to parties and whatever, I'd always want to get a workout in before then because it made me feel so good. And when you feel good, then you can connect with people easily.
Right.
And it really is like, if you're happy and you're feeling good, it's so much easier to be social and make friends.
Right. No, I mean it's night and day. I mean it really is. When you feel good about yourself, it projects easily. And so no, we all would. We all, before we go out for a night or a party or something, I remember that we'd all be in our room just like, let's rep out a few push-ups. Because it's true, you just feel better about it.
We were total bros.
But that's not bad,
No, I mean, it was a great learning experience for sure.
It really is. But no, and I'll be honest, you can't emphasize that enough, though, that it is about personality, but you got to be approachable. You got to look good.
Right, absolutely. I think on the internet is overemphasized that don't worry about how you look. You got to have a good personality. You have to have both. It's like,
Mm.
if you have a car with no fuel, you're not going anywhere. If you have a full tank with no wheels, you're
Can't.
not going anywhere.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Exactly. So definitely it's something to remember, and that's that was a hard thing for me to learn. I remember because I always felt like I was this good guy, but why didn't girls like me? And then you gotta make that change. You gotta do that. You gotta become approachable, and then things happen.
Totally. Something else when you were talking that I picked up on, because it sounds like you're very present in the moment because you notice things, and a lot of things guys don't notice, like shoes and clothes, and like I would never even think to talk about like a Manchester shirt. I would just see a shirt, and I wouldn't even notice what kind of shirt they were wearing. So it's not like you're very present when you're talking to someone.
Right, and you kind of pick up cues, and you kind of see, you see what they're wearing or where they're at. I think the best thing to be able to talk to someone is kind of where you're at, a location. So say you're, in a cool restaurant, talk about the cool restaurant or something. Just know kind of where you're at, and that's the easiest thing to do. Location's great, but also like clothing. You can tell you a little bit about someone. Someone has a tattoo. Okay, that's not your first one you want to talk about unless it's awesome, and you're like, okay, you gotta tell me about that. I'm like, what does that mean? But you just kind of pick up on things, or if you have something, it's always nice to be able to find a common bond. So like, I have that watch too. Like, or what kind of watch is that? Something like that. And so. And even if it's not the kind of watch that you have, you're like, oh, that kind of looks like one I have. Do you like it or something? You always have to kind of notice stuff about people.
Right.
You don't always have to, but it's something I do, and it just makes it easier for conversation.
Right, definitely, because you're really good about picking up on the common bonds and making, even if you're just good about making people feel like you have a common bond, because I think because you're very genuinely excited about what people say, and so when you're excited about what they say and they're excited about what they say, then it really builds. I'm reading this book right now called The Charisma Factor, and it talks about how charismatic leaders do what they do, and one of the ideas to talk about is entrainment. And entrainment is when people like you and me talking is when we start matching our body language, when we start matching our rates of speech, and it's a natural thing that people do. And especially helps if you're on a topic that you're both kind of interested in and excited about. And so they call that entrainment. And they say, when you become entrained, then basically it doesn't matter what the other person says. You're going to agree with them. If their mood changes, your mood changes. If their body language changes, your body language changes. And that's when you feel the connection. And when you're not having that entrainment is when you feel like it's a stilted conversation, and it feels awkward, and it just doesn't. You don't feel. You come away like, well, that guy was weird.
Right. No, it's true. Kind of empathizing or not empathizing, but yeah, kind of being able to find that kind of common bond, and being able to, if you're talking to someone like, oh, my dog just died, like, cool, you want to be like, yeah. Oh, you do have to get on that kind of same level with people.
Right, that's true. So, for example, if their dog had died, you wouldn't want to be like, oh, well, cool, tell me about your dog, or you have any other pets? So you would want to be like, oh, your dog just died.
I'd be like, oh man, that's rough. How are you doing? Are you doing all right with it? You ask how they're doing, things like that, but you don't want to focus on that. I'm like, oh, I'm doing all right. Well, and then you can go from there. Kind of see how they say. If they don't want to open up about it, they don't have to. But you always give someone a chance to open up, especially grieving. Extreme excitement or extreme pain. Usually people want to talk about it, but not all the time.
Sure, right. And you just want to be real cognizant of their moods, and you want to match it, not be dissonant, because then you're not going to make a connection with them.
Exactly.
So something else you're really good at is including everyone in a conversation. Like in big groups, I notice you're really good if you notice someone that's not in the conversation. Like you specifically ask them questions and bring them into the conversation. You make everyone feel really included, and I think that helps a lot, because people, especially if they're not used to being included, people love having attention on them, and they'll love you for bringing them in and including them, especially if they feel out of place, and you're really good about that.
Right. Well, it just kind of goes back to how, you know, people like to talk about themselves, you know, and so if you can give someone a chance who's not very extrovert, because not everyone are extroverts, you know, there's, especially when you're in a group of extroverts, it's so hard if you're an introvert, you know, breaching that extrovert bubble. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, you're having a great time talking about God knows what. And so it's really nice to be able to let, you know, hear people talk, because as I said, you can learn something new from someone else. But people like talk, and sometimes it can add to a conversation. Now, on the other side of that, sometimes you'll be in like a group and you'll realize there's someone that's not adding, and you're like, oh my gosh, this person is poisoning this group. And so you kind of have to do the exact opposite, which is politely kind of try to turn the conversation, because otherwise this evening or this moment can be ruined by this kind of sour apple. So
right.
you know,
So like if someone's like, if you're getting on the subject of politics and this guy's like real adamant about his beliefs and he just doesn't give a shit about anyone else, you're going to try to steer that conversation away.
oh yeah, as hard as possible, because you know, when you're in a social setting, there's two things you don't talk about: religion and politics. And I might even, you know, bring up a joke about that, you know, like, oh well, it's enough of that, let's move on to religion or something, you know, in just kind of a joking manner, because obviously this is important to that person, so you don't want to offend that person, but you also don't really want to pollute the group. And so you definitely, I mean, I always try to lighten it up and try to switch something. So
Sure. You're really good about just keeping conversation going. Whenever I'm out with you, I can just like sit back and relax, and because you always have some, you know, you're always talking with someone, so then I'm like, okay, if I want to jump in, I can, but it doesn't, like, it feels so easy when you're around. So how do you do that?
I'm telling you, I've said it from the beginning. You just try to learn more about whoever you're talking to, and you just build and build, and I can think of in conversations where, you know, I'll see like this little, kind of like you said, you like picking up on different things I'm saying. That's exactly what you do in a conversation with somebody. You wait and you listen to kind of that surface stuff, and then you wait for that thing that you're saying, like, oh, I think this is something they really like, and then you go after that, you know. And then if you have some commonality with it, great. If you don't, learn more, because they'll want to tell you about it. And you know, I'm not a big rock climber, but if I'm in a conversation and someone's like, oh yeah, well, I was just there rock climbing. Oh, you rock climbing? You know, learn more about it. But it has to be genuine though. You can't just be like, oh, talk to me about rock climbing. Like, no. And then like, I don't want to talk to you about that. They're like, oh, and that's why it's nice to be able to relate something, like, oh, you know, do you wear those shoes? Or, you know, just pull something out.
You're really stuck on that shoe idea.
People like shoes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love talking about my shoes, but
Yeah. Dude, you know what we need to do? We need to have just a whole talk on conversations, because I think that's real important. That's something that I used to be terrible at, because I could not keep a conversation going, because that's what I would do. It'd be like, they would say something like, well, that doesn't interest me. You know, next, what else you got to say? Yeah,
right.
but
Yeah.
I've since, you know, I read a real good book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and it has just a lot of the ideas that you're talking about, and they seem so common sense, but when you don't practice them, you don't think about them. And
Right,
that's
right.
one of the keys, is when you're talking to somebody, there's almost just, it's like a Google search, and there's those keywords, and you just have to hit those keywords, and all you have to do is say, tell me more about that. And that is
Right,
it.
right.
Like, tell me more about blank, whatever
Right.
whatever subject they were just talking about.
Yeah, and just and you'll be able to see it in a conversation, or you'll know something that kind of you're fired up about, and so then if you can, then they'll mention something like, wait a minute, what did you say? Because you and I love to cook, and we love cooking, we love food. So I always, if there's any time I can touch on food, or I hear somewhere I can slip in food, that's great, because I can talk about food all day, and
Right.
and you know, and I can talk about cooking all day, and I can always learn more. And so that's, you know, that's something for me. When someone like kind of hints at that, I'm like, you know, I go in for that. And so yeah, but you'll kind of find some stuff that kind of you're interested in, and things like that. You know, healthy gamer, you know, you have the help people with, you know, workouts, things like that. So I'm assuming, like, maybe when you're talking with someone you just met, and they're like, oh, well, you know, I was doing these workouts, you're like, what? Well,
Right.
thing is, I know something about that, or and that type of thing. So
Yeah, no, that totally happens, and it just very quickly becomes, you go from a superficial conversation to a very in-depth, because then they're going to be telling you about their lives, their problems, what kind of health
exactly.
problem. It just goes very deeply, very quickly, all because you picked up on, that one word like workout.
Yeah.
What I do
Like,
is like, yeah, what kind
like,
of workout do you do? And then from there,
right.
they're gonna tell you the workout and be like, oh, so you go to the gym a lot? Like, no, I don't. So go to the gym. I'll go to the body. I'll do body weight workouts. So what kind of body weight workouts do you do? Yeah, I do push-ups and pulls. Oh, how do you feel about this workout? Yeah,
Exactly. And then that's when it goes. And then all of a sudden, you're friends. You're like, oh my gosh, like, well, let's hang out sometime. Like, all right. It can be guy, girl, person down the road, whoever it is. But once you kind of find that, bam. So yeah, kind of know what you can talk about a lot and then just kind of go with that. So,
absolutely. And again, it's just a learned skill. I used to. I mean, you can testify. I used to not be able to do that to people like strangers or just anyone.
yeah, it's, when you go out with people and sometimes you're a little nervous if you're with someone, you're like, oh my gosh, what are they going to do? Jack was never that person, but Jack was never at one point in his life, you're kind of like the guy who're like, is Jack going to talk? What's going to go on here? But then I remember your change too, when it went from, oh, like Jack's our friend, we should invite him, to like, oh God, we got to have Jack Jones come with, like, oh, let's call Jack about it, because it made that change from, oh, you're with us to you're one of us, and so it was great. I love that change where you were part of the party and not just
Yeah.
going.
I
So
agree, and that's one of the big benefits about becoming an interesting person, and then other people want to be around you. Because I used to be bitter. Like, why aren't I getting invited to things? Why aren't people, you know, like me more? I deserve to be liked more. Blah blah blah. But then you realize you have to take responsibility. If you feel that way, you have to take 100% responsibility. If people don't like you, it's because you're not likable, and you have to build yourself into an interesting person, and it's doable. It's a learned skill.
no, I mean, it really is. That's huge. You can't just be bitter about it. You just gotta keep working at it. I mean,
Totally.
it's just something about it. So I mean, because there was a time in my life where I was kind of bitter about life and the world, but just get over
Yeah.
it.
I
There's
mean,
no room for criers in this life. So
absolutely. You got to take responsibility. If you don't like something in your life, change it. That's
it,
it.
exactly, and that's some of the best advice I ever heard. When I was young, I was a portly young guy. I was pretty chubby, and I tell the
I'm gonna
lady
dig
that,
up a picture and put it on here.
yeah, oh my gosh. But no, I tell the lady, she was my old babysitter. I was young, but I tell her, like, she helped change my life because she said this, and I was at the pool. I was a chubby kid, and I was like all ashamed, and I was like, I don't want to swim. She looks at me in the face, no remorse. She's like, Andrew, she's like, you either like yourself or you change something, or you change. She's like, no more of this. She's like, don't do this, and that stuck with me. I was like, you're right. Like, I either have to be happy or change something about it, because yeah, so
That's
it's a big thing.
Dude, that's so true. I was listening to Earl Nightingale, and he was saying that, why don't 90-year-old women, why don't they walk around cursing gravity? Because it's gravity that's causing them to be bent over. And
Right,
his point is because there's nothing we can do about gravity. You
right,
only, like, hold grudges and against things that you can change in your life.
mhm,
Nobody is saying, God, I hate the sun. It's making it hot.
right.
Well, I guess, okay, people say it's hot. That's a terrible example, but yeah, you get the idea. Is that generally the things that you complain about in your life are the things that you can change.
Right, right, right. And even when you complain about things you can't change, it just, you're wasting your time. Like, I mean, because people do, like, people complain about this and that, and speaking of conversation or being social, that's not conducive to being social. If you're gonna complain about things that you can't change and all this, then it's gonna be tough. I mean, obviously it's something maybe that you can grow, because I'm, kind of, I don't know how to phrase it, but a common worry or common complaint amongst people can unite people too. You know, like for instance, Jack and I, Healthy Gamer and I worked at a pool once where we had a terrible boss and everyone disliked this boss. But the funny thing was about it is that it brought the entire staff together because no one liked that boss. But our staff was so tight. We were a very tight knit group. It was because we hated this guy. And so I mean, and so sometimes that can do it, but you just don't want to complain about things.
Right. You don't want to come across as like a whiner or a complainer. That's terrible. Exactly. And as I say, like it's true. Like shared diversity builds bonds. That's what they do in basic training. They're trying to make you hate the drill sergeants because that builds a bond within all the soldiers.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Let's wrap this up. Like I just want to hit the main point of what you've said tonight is if you want to be social and you want to be good in social settings, then you need to be genuinely interested in people, just genuinely interested, and that's it.
Right.
Boil it all down, just be interested.
You just want to learn more. I mean, if you go in being like, I want to learn more about this person's story, I mean, you're going to be a little better off, and you have to be confident about that. You can't be shy. Confidence, number one lesson in life. Yeah. You know, and it, as Healthy Game said, I mean, it's not born. What?
You can call me Jack.
It's cool. Jack.
Yeah.
As Jack says. But I mean, you gotta have that confidence, but then be genuinely interested.
Absolutely. Well, let's get on and talk about conversations. Let's do that. Anytime, bud. Anytime. I love having conversations. If you haven't noticed already, I love to talk. So just hit me up anytime, guys. Yeah, for sure. Well, I really appreciate this conversation. I think it's real useful to people.
No problem. Anytime. And if anyone has any questions or whatever, you can give them Facebook or email, anything like that. I can help out whenever. So.
Perfect. Because yeah, you are a college counselor, and you advise people who want to go to college. So that might be
That's what I do.
Useful.
That's what I do.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, thanks again, Andrew.
No problem, guys. Take care.